Can you remember the first words of your ones?
Of course.
They're not little ones. I was going to say little ones. They're not little at all.
My little adults, it's the same word that they still use now, mama.
You're so lucky. Both of mine came out saying daddy. That was the first thing I said. So now with my third, with Rex, I'm like, mum, 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 mum. Sometimes I even like go, mum, mum, mum. That's how you do it, just
That's
like
what I mean.
this.
You start it off by going...
Was there a bit of training going on, Brenda?
There was a whole load of training, of course. You will know who's feeding you. Mama. That's it. That's it. I love it.
I do think dad is easier to say.
I
If you
think
think
it
about,
is.
you know, like
Yeah.
they do a lot of that, and then the dads go,
Oh,
there you go.
Oh,
They're
you
not
said
really,
dad.
are they?
What did Patricia say first?
Well, there was a little bit of a mixture. I think Mama definitely came out first and then disappeared entirely, and it was just dad, 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 dad. And then it started to come back in again a little bit now when I think she realises who the real boss is.
Exactly.
And she says, Mama again. And she says, so our little dog's called Minnie. So she says Minnie.
Oh.
And she loves other babies. So she'll say baby, and she does a lot of pointing and a lot of saying no. A lot of that.
No was a big one for us. They learnt no very quickly, and it's all they said.
Yeah.
No.
Have you got words that you said as kids that your family still use?
Yeah, I've got one. My mum and dad still laugh about this. I was really young and I kept torturing my parents because I wanted an over-escher. Kept saying I want an over-escher, and I used to cry over this thing. They couldn't figure out what I was talking about. And then it was my dad clocked on one day, I meant an umbrella. So even now my mum will say, have you got your over-escher with you? I'll go, yeah. Over-escher? Where on earth did that come from? I think that's much more difficult to say.
Yeah, because instead of bungalow, I used to say bingabo. And even now, my mum goes, oh, that's a nice bingabo, isn't it?
For years, my dad swears blind by this, but I don't remember it. Apparently, I only called him Dave. So I'd be like, Dave! Because my mum called him Dave. It's his name. But I didn't call him Dad, I just called him what my mum called him. So I'd be this, like, 2-year-old going, Dave! Can I have a drink, Dave?
Very forward thinking.
But the whole Milestones thing, you know, when you get... So, not so much with the second one, because by then you've kind of, like, given up. But the first one, you know, when you get... I use the word friend loosely, and they come round and they go, oh, isn't she talking yet? Do you know, that passive-aggressive kind of thing where they're actually saying, my child is doing the alphabet at the age of 1. And you get really panicky and you start to think, oh, my God, they're not actually, you know, they're not doing what they should be doing. But I think a lot of that goes on.
Oh, I think it's...
Yeah, but they all reach their milestones at different times. It's one of them things that you think they should be doing something and actually they're not, and then they do other things really quickly. Rex smiled really quickly. That was one of his first milestones, but he hasn't... his week...
Oh, God. What a smile.
Oh, that's the cutest little thing.
Oh, that's just made me forget everything I was about to say. I love him so much. He smiled really quickly, is what I was going to say. But other things he's developed slower at. And I think, especially being the third one, he gets carried around a lot.
Exactly.
Everyone picks him up, and he doesn't really have to work very hard.
Doesn't have to walk.
Yeah. Whereas when I had Zach at 18, I was like, come on, love. I can't carry you everywhere. No, go on.
Carry on.
No, I don't know. No, I wasn't going to, Brenda. I turned to you to go,
No, I was going to say, because I'm total opposite, unfortunately, because I'm so strict with everything to do with the children. Still, I am. But when they were born, for me, it was like, you know, you're going to get onto my schedule because I'm a single mum and I'm working, and so I need you to be able to go to whoever, whenever, however. And so it was, you know, Jamal was probably walking when he was about 9, 10 months.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
Tanisha's probably the same.
How do you make them walk?
Well, what I did... Yeah, exactly. I got one of those round things that you put them in and they make them move. Because otherwise, if you keep holding them, you're not going to get anything done.
No,
get in there and find your way around this house. Find a way. It was one level, let me just say. Disclaimer, one level, flat. You know, no stairs or anything, and they'd go roaming about. And then, you know, they'd get in there and then they'd do that jumping thing. I loved it, and they were just self-sufficient.
Yeah, we had one of those things in the door frame, you know, where you just leave them and they sort of like bounce.
They bounce.
Bounce up.
It's brilliant.
The only time I've ever thought about milestones, this third time around, was when I was breastfeeding Rex, because I really, really struggled and I couldn't work out what I was doing wrong. I shouldn't say wrong. What wasn't working for us. And then as we've started to wean at 6 months, he just wasn't eating food either. And that's the first time that I then ended up speaking to a specialist, and they had a look inside his mouth, and it turned out that he's tongue tie, which would have been great to diagnose at the beginning.
What does that mean?
So basically, it's when the flap of skin
underneath,
exactly under your tongue, is a lot fatter or tighter, and it means they can't poke their tongue out. It also sometimes means that the roof of their mouth is a different shape.
Right.
So when I will feed him food, he'll gag instantly, whether it's smooth or hard, because he's not used to anything going to the back of his throat, which meant that we really struggled breastfeeding.
So did you think he had like reflux or something?
I just thought that I didn't have the right shaped boobs, or I didn't have enough milk. Genuinely,
well, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, really strong. Because I'd seen so many professionals that hadn't flagged
Is it quite common?
Apparently,
It is quite common. I remember getting checked
sadly,
for it, actually, yeah.
See, we didn't. It's a postcode lottery, which is really sad. So it means that there will be specialists in certain areas and not in others. So sometimes. And if it's a posterior tongue tie, it's not easy to see.
And is that where the phrase tongue-tied comes from?
Yeah.
It must be, I guess.
Yeah,
Never thought of that.
yeah.
And it meant that I couldn't breastfeed in the end. I tried every angle and I couldn't, and it could have been stopped. It could have been avoided, basically, had I been able to have access to a specialist straight away.
Yeah, it would have changed that first.
So what will they have to do?
So now, because if it wasn't bothering him at all, nothing would happen.
Right.
But because he is struggling to eat solid foods, they'll cut it. And basically, once it's cut, he has the free movement of his tongue, he can eat properly, everything changes. I know it sounds bad, but I'm really looking forward to him having it done, because it just feels like questions have been answered. I remember speaking to you, Jane, about struggling with feeding, and it was really, really getting me down. And at least knowing that there was something that was causing that to happen, rather than it just wasn't.
It's weird, isn't it? Because it's so strange, because as a mother, you go through the various things when there's something happening. It's like when Grace didn't sleep for 2 years, and I tried everything, and I kept thinking, there's something else here, there's something wrong, you know, and you take them endlessly to experts, and they would just go, oh, no, she's just a difficult babe. And I go, no, because during the day she isn't, you know, and da-da-da. Anyway, it was really severe sleep apnea, you know, but it took 2 years to diagnose, and her heart was stopping every time I lay her down to sleep. And it was terrifying. And then they did this, took tonsils and adenoids out. The very next night, she slept through the night.
Oh, my God.
And I felt so guilty, because I'd been leaving her to cry, doing all the stuff that, you know, they tell you. And you think, why don't they look for the worst-case scenario and then work backwards?
I do think there's a real issue with funding in women's health.
Yeah.
And I think that's the ultimate issue, is that there's not enough funding, so people don't get seen properly, things aren't diagnosed correctly, and then, we end up feeling the guilt for it.
No, I know, absolutely. Well, my little one is practically running.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, talk about milestones. Oh, my goodness. But, you know, her body and her little head aren't keeping up with her legs. So the legs are doing this, but she's like, oh, and then falls. Oh, my goodness me.
Like
it's very...
father, like daughter.
A little bit, yeah.